the boy noticed something strange about the city of Florence. Everyone used money. The merchants counted it, the nobles spent it, the workers chased it, the priests preached about it. From dawn until dark, the whole city moved because of money. And yet, almost no one in it seemed to understand the thing they handled every single day. They were like sailors who crossed the sea their entire lives without ever learning to read the wind, carried wherever it pushed them, and calling it fate when they were wrecked. The boy decided he would learn to read the wind, so he stopped asking what people thought about money and began watching how money behaved. Not what it should do, not what men wished it would do, what it actually does, reliably, coldly, the same way every time, in every generation, whether you understand it or not. He found 16 rules, and these are not opinions or advice. They are the laws of a thing that has never once made an exception for anyone. The first rule is the one that quietly ruins the most lives. Money is a tool, not a prize. It is not a reward the world hands you for being good, or patient, or deserving. It has no eyes to see your suffering, and no memory of your sacrifices. It is a hammer. A hammer does not care who lifts it, and it does not reward the worthy. It obeys whoever knows how to swing it. Men spend their whole lives waiting to be given money, as though it were a medal for a life well lived. It never comes, because that was never what money was. Here is the second rule, and it surprises everyone. Money does not change a man. It magnifies him. A generous man with more money becomes more generous. A frightened man becomes more frightened. A reckless man is simply able to be reckless on a larger scale and destroys himself faster. Money is not a cure for who you are. It is a mirror held closer to your face. The boy saw wealthy men in Florence made miserable by the very fortunes they had prayed for, because the fortune had only amplified the man they already were. And the third rule is the simplest and the one people forget hourly. Money is always moving. It never sits still. Every coin in the world at every moment is either working for you or working for someone else. There is no coin resting quietly in between. The one you spent today is now building another man's wealth. The one you kept and put to work is building yours. So hold this question before we go on. At this exact moment, is your money working for you, or is it working for someone else? Most people have never asked. And a coin does not wait for permission to choose a side. Now, where does money actually flow? Because it is not random. It moves in a direction and always the same one. The boy spent a season simply watching the direction money moved, and he found that it never wandered. It flowed the way water flows, always downhill, always the same way, always toward the same kind of hands. Here's the fourth rule. Money flows from the impatient to the patient. He saw it in the grain market. When the harvest came in, the impatient sellers dumped everything at once, desperate for coin today, and took whatever price they were offered. And there was always a quiet buyer waiting, willing to hold that grain for 6 months, who paid little and sold high. Nothing clever had happened. No one was cheated. The impatient man simply paid the patient man for the privilege of not waiting. This happens in every market, in every century, in 1,000 small ways. And almost everyone in Florence stood on the losing side of it, every day of their lives, without ever noticing. The fifth rule is harder to hear. Money flows from those who do not understand to those who do. The boy watched a farmer sign a contract he could not read, agreeing to terms that quietly took half of everything he would grow. No one held a knife to him. He was not robbed. He simply did not understand the thing he was agreeing to, and understanding was worth money. So, the money moved to the man who had it. Ignorance is never free. It is the most expensive thing a person owns, and it is paid for slowly in small pieces over an entire lifetime. And the sixth rule explains why some men are paid so much more than others for so much less sweat. Money rewards scarcity. The city was full of men who could carry, dig, and lift. Because anyone could do it, it was worth almost nothing. But there was one man in Florence who could work a certain kind of glass, and only him, and he named his own price, not because he worked harder, because he could not be replaced. The market does not pay for effort or even for skill. It pays for what it cannot easily find elsewhere. The more common your ability, the more the world will haggle over you. The rarer it becomes, the less you will ever have to ask. So put these three together and be honest with yourself. Are you the one waiting, or the one who cannot afford to wait? Are you the one who understands the agreement, or the one who signs it, hoping for the best? And is what you offer the world rare? Or is there a line of men outside every door who can do exactly what you do? The boy realized these three rules quietly decide who ends each year richer and who ends it poorer, long before anyone works a single hour. But knowing where money flows is not enough, because the boy had seen men with money pouring toward them who still ended up with nothing at all. There was a man in Florence who earned more than almost anyone the boy knew, and who died owing money to half the city. His trade was good. The coins poured in season after season, but they poured out just as fast. Through the fine table, the imported wine, the horse he did not need, the house too large to heat, he had spent 30 years with a river of money running through his hands, and at the end of it, he owned nothing but debts. The boy understood then that this man had never been rich. He had merely been someone that money passed through on its way somewhere else. So here is the seventh rule. It is not what you earn. It is what you keep, and how long you keep it. Income is only the water entering the bucket. If the bucket is full of holes, it does not matter how fast you pour. There were quiet men in Florence who earned half what that merchant earned and died with real fortunes, simply because what came in stayed in. The world is loud about earning and silent about keeping, and that silence has ruined more men than poverty ever did. The eighth rule is the one that changes how you see every purchase for the rest of your life. Every coin you spend is a trade with your future. The boy learned to look at a price differently. The true cost of a thing was never the number the merchant said. It was what that coin would have become if he had let it work instead. A small sum spent today is not a small sum. It is everything that some could have grown into over 20 years, gone forever in a single afternoon. Most men see only the price. The few who grow wealthy see the ghost of what that money would have become, standing right behind the thing they are about to buy. And the ninth rule is the quietest thief of all. Money that sits still does not stay the same. It shrinks. The boy noticed that a coin buried in the garden was safe from robbers, and yet somehow bought less bread each year than the year before. Nothing had been stolen. No one had touched it. But the world moved on, and the coin did not. And that slow, invisible loss is a tax no one ever announces, and everyone pays. Safety is not the same as preservation. Doing nothing with money is itself a decision, and it always costs something. So ask yourself plainly, how much of what came into your hands last year is still with you today? And if the honest answer is almost none, then the problem was never how much you earned. The boy now understood how money moves, where it flows, and how quietly it leaks away. But he had not yet found the force that turns a small amount into a large one. The engine underneath all of it, that can just as easily run in reverse. The boy found the engine in the last place anyone would look, in an old olive grove outside the city walls. The trees were enormous. They produced more oil than any grove in the region, and the family who owned them had done nothing remarkable in living memory. The boy asked how it had been built, expecting a story about a clever deal or a great fortune. The old man simply said that his grandfather had planted the trees. That was all. One ordinary man, many decades ago, had put small things into the ground and then let time do what only time can do. Here is the 10th rule. Time is the multiplier. Money placed to work does not grow by addition. It grows upon itself, and then that growth grows quietly in a curve so slow at the beginning that almost everyone abandons it before it becomes visible. This is the only force in the whole of finance that works without you. It does not need your effort, your talent, or your attention. It only needs to be left alone. The boy understood that the wealthy men of Florence had not been faster than everyone else. They had simply started earlier and refused to interrupt it. But the 11th rule is the same engine. Turned against you, debt is compounding in reverse. The boy watched a man borrow a modest sum for a fine cloak and spend 11 years paying for a garment that had long since worn out. The interest had done to him exactly what the olive trees had done for the family. Grown upon itself, silently, patiently, without ever resting. That is the cruelty of it. The identical force builds a fortune or buries a man, and the only difference is which side of it he stands on. Every borrowed coin puts the engine to work against you, in the dark, while you sleep. And the 12th rule is the one that gives ordinary men a chance. Small amounts, placed consistently, defeat large amounts placed occasionally. The boy saw men wait their whole lives for one great sum, one good harvest, one lucky contract, one fortune that would finally let them begin. They waited, and it never came, and they died having begun nothing. Meanwhile, the quiet ones put aside something small every single month, unremarkable amounts that no one noticed, and the engine turned for them year after year. Consistency is what feeds compounding. A modest amount that never stops will pass a great amount that comes once and then goes quiet. So ask yourself honestly, is time currently building something for you, or is it charging you interest? Because time is never neutral. It is working right now in one direction or the other, whether or not you have decided which. The boy had found the engine at last and understood that it could make almost any man wealthy given enough years. And yet most men still ended poor because the engine is simple and the man operating it is not. The boy had expected that men would fail at money because the rules were difficult. He was wrong. The rules were simple. It was the men who were complicated. Here is the 13th rule. Almost every decision about money is made with feeling and explained afterward with reason. He watched a merchant sell everything he owned in a panic because a rumor had frightened the market for a single afternoon. He watched another buy wildly into a venture for no reason except that everyone around him was buying and he could not bear to be left behind. Both men gave long, careful explanations for what they had done. Both explanations were invented after the fact. Fear had decided one and envy the other, and the reasoning was only a cloak thrown over the choice once it was already made. The boy learned that a man who does not know which feeling is holding the reins will always be driven somewhere he did not intend to go. The 14th rule cost more men their fortunes than any war. Comparison is the most expensive habit in Florence. The boy watched a modest household ruin itself in 3 years, and not one coin of it went to anything they wanted. It went to what the neighbors would see. A better cloak, because the family across the street had one. A larger table, because a cousin had bought one first. They were not buying goods at all. They were buying the opinion of people who were not thinking about them. Meanwhile, the wealthiest man on that same street wore the same plain coat for a decade and was mistaken for a servant, and did not care in the slightest, because he had stopped keeping score against other men long ago. And the 15th rule is the one the boy saw break the boldest men of all. Never risk what you cannot afford to lose for something you do not need. He watched a man with a comfortable trade and a secure family stake, everything on one enormous venture that promised to make him great. It failed, as most such things do, and he lost not only the venture, but the good life he already had. He had risked the essential to gain the unnecessary. The boy noticed that the truly wealthy took risks constantly, but always with money whose loss would not touch their foundation. They never bet the roof over their heads on a bigger house. So ask yourself, honestly, what was the last money decision you made, and what feeling was actually holding the reins? Fear? Envy? The wish to be seen a certain way? Name it. Because whatever you refuse to name will keep making your decisions for you. The boy now knew the rules that govern money and the weaknesses that govern men. But one rule remained. The last one, and the one that decides whether the other 15 were ever worth learning at all. Little Machiavelli. 16. Rules on how money actually works. Machiavelli, Blocco 6, Detender 6. Regra. 16. Recap. Fechamento. 500 palavras. The last rule the boy learned did not come from a market or a workshop. It came from watching a very rich man die. He had spent his life building one of the great fortunes of Florence. He had risen before dawn for 40 years, missed every supper, refused every quiet afternoon, and postponed his own living until the work was finished. The work was never finished, and at the end, he lay in a beautiful house he had barely inhabited. Surrounded by wealth, he no longer had the hours to use, and the boy understood that this man had spent the only thing that could never be earned back in order to accumulate the one thing that could. Here is the 16th rule, and it is the reason for all the others. Money buys time, and time is the one form of wealth that cannot be recovered. That is the entire point, not the coins, not the house or the name. The purpose of understanding money is to buy back your own hours, the mornings you do not have to sell, the work you can refuse, the years you get to spend as yourself. A man who gathers a fortune by spending every hour he has not built wealth. He has simply traded the only thing that mattered for a pile of the thing that was supposed to protect it. So, here are the 16 rules as the boy learned them. Money is a tool, not a prize. It magnifies the man you already are. It never sits still. It flows from the impatient to the patient, from those who do not understand to those who do, and toward whatever is rare. What matters is not what you earn, but what you keep. Every coin spent is a trade with your future. Money left still shrinks quietly. Time is the multiplier, and debt is that same engine running against you. Small amounts, never interrupted, defeat great amounts that come once. Your decisions are made by feeling and explained by reason. Comparison is the most expensive habit there is. Never risk the essential for the unnecessary. And in the end, money is only worth what it buys back of your life. None of these rules are difficult to understand. A child can hold every one of them. That was always the strange part. The rules were never hidden, never complicated, never reserved for the clever. They were simply never taught, and almost never followed. Most people will finish this and go on exactly as before, handling money every day of their lives without ever learning to read the wind. A few will begin tonight, not by earning more, but by finally understanding the thing they have been holding all along. The boy could not tell you which you will be, only you can. If you intend to be one of the few, then follow this boy, because every fable here teaches the one thing no one else will, how the world of money actually works. The next lesson is already waiting.